Hi, this is Sam Weeb, and this video is brought to you by MysteryWritingMastery.thinkific.com, which is an online school for mystery writers. Today's topic is when is the right time to give up on a book, and when is the right time to double down on a book. This was a question from somebody who I'd done a manuscript critique with, and they put me in a really tough position by asking whether or not they felt that their book was worth putting in the effort to revise for what I think is about the fourth or fifth time, or whether it would be better to shelve it and work on something else. And obviously, this is not something that I can answer really easily because I'm not that person. I know the state of the manuscript, and I know what I would do in their position, but it's not really fair for me to say, yeah, keep at it indefinitely. You will get there eventually. I don't know if you will. Not every book is designed to be published. Sometimes a book is written just to learn how to write the next book. An example I've used ad nauseum in the course is this novel that I wrote and then abandoned, but I had an idea for a coda to the story. This extra little scene or this extra little problem that the detective would have. And I wrote that as a story, and that ended up getting published and nominated for a very local crime award. But the novel didn't get published. So was the novel a waste, or was getting my first publication worth going through that? I think it was definitely worth going through that. And who knows if maybe in 10 years I don't go back to that book with an idea of exactly how to fix it. There are also times where doubling down is absolutely the right thing to do. And the best example I can give you of that is the Wakeland series. There's a financial argument for shelving that and trying to write something much more commercial. Like a cozy or a thriller, rather than a detective series set in Vancouver. That is a tough sell for some people. Creatively, though, it's really important to me. That's what I want to write. That's what I know the best. That's the style of novel that I enjoy reading, and it's also the setting that I know the most about. So that's what's most creatively fulfilling for me. Given the choice of going along with what the market says or going with what my heart says, I sided with my heart. And I think that passion ultimately trumps market concerns. I think most people would rather read a book that somebody really wanted to write than a book that, they thought had a chance of impressing Oprah. Although, Oprah's really cool. So for yourself, how do you know whether it's time to give up on a book or to double down on it? Well, I think you have to ask yourself two questions. First of all, how much more time are you willing to put into this book? And that seems like a very straightforward question, but it's not. Because the amount of work you've already put in will color that. If you have revised a book 5 times already, revising it for a 6th might feel like slow death, and you might not be up for it. Even if you think that the project is great and it's almost there, if the sight of it makes you sick, you're probably not going to be able to work on it with, the open heart and mind that you're going to need. It can be very tough to realize that, months of work need to be thrown out or changed, or that your basic approach to the book was wrong. All of those things happen. On the other hand, you might feel like because you've done, 6 revisions of this already, that you have too much invested to give up. And that can be kind of a bad motivation too, because maybe you're trying to fix something that's fundamentally not going to work. So I would just try to look at the book and think, how much more do I have to give to this? With the skills that I have, knowing that this is not a perfect world, could I make this good enough? Could I make this better? And then the second question is, do I know what's wrong with it? And that is a really key part of it. I don't let anything go out of my writing office unless I'm happy with it. That doesn't mean it's perfect. That doesn't mean that readers are going to love it or that my editor will respond positively. There was actually a case recently where I sent something in and he phoned me to find out what the ending meant. So that means that I kind of screwed up the ending. But I was happy with the ending. I felt like that was the best I could do at the time. So I fixed that manuscript up to the point where I didn't know how to make it any better. That's the point where it needed to go out into the world and get feedback from an agent, from an editor, from a beta reader, from a manuscript critique, however. So just to recap, I would ask myself, first of all, how much work do I want to put in going forward? If this was a brand new work that you were editing, not that you were writing, but that you were editing, would you be willing to spend a month or a year to make it better? And the second question is, do you know how to make it better? Are you confident that one more pass will fix it? Or do you think that structurally it needs to be rethought? If I can fix it, if I know how to fix it, and if I have the energy to fix it, then I will keep fixing it. If I hit a point where I don't know what's making it better, I'm just changing it just to change it, or if I get to a point where I have fixed it as much as I can, that's when I will send it out, or if it's in really rough shape, I will put it aside. One thing you could do to kind of see how your manuscript is going to fly is send out the first chapter or the first 10 pages to a couple of friends. And don't ask them for feedback. Don't ask them for a manuscript critique of this, but just see if they're interested. See if they ask you for the rest of the story. If they don't, that silence is probably pretty telling. A lot of books sag in the middle, and a lot of books have unsatisfactory ends, but usually the beginnings of books are the best part. It's usually when the writing is the freshest, the idea is the freshest, and usually people know what will be a cool scene to start with. So if your beginning really sucks, and it's just not landing with people the way that you hoped, that might be a good indication. This is a really tough subject, whether or not to continue on with something and double down or give up. And I hope that this video has helped you with that. There is a third option, of course, which is just to put it aside for a couple of weeks. If you put it aside and you notice that your mind keeps returning to it, or if you're watching an old episode of the Rockford Files and you suddenly say, that's a great idea for my story, then you can go back to it with renewed vigor. And if not, then it's time to move on to the next one. And I hope this has helped. This is brought to you by mysterywritingmastery.thinkific.com. If you go over to our page, you can sign up for Beginning Your Mystery, which is a free online course about finding and developing ideas for mystery novels.